Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of Carry On With Carrie. I'm so excited to have Jennifer with me today. I've got Jennifer Cline. She's a good friend of mine. Hi, how are you?
I'm really well today. How about you?
I'm good.
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 We had the giggles earlier.
We did. What did we just finish doing?
we centered ourselves with 3 ohms before we turned on go or play or however you do it.
To calm me down, and then I said, okay, just give me a sec.
And then rapture of laughter.
You had to be there.
Well, you are.
You are now. Well, thank you for coming. I'm excited to have you here. Jennifer's here to speak to us about some of her experiences. She's going to be sharing past experiences with depression, anxiety, binge eating disorder, chronic pain, and how it's affected her and where you kind of are right now. And that's kind of what we've discussed as being something you're comfortable talking about, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your invitation was a big kick in my ass, gently, and thank you for that, because I've hid from the fact. I used to hide from the fact, and then that I have these experiences with a myriad checklist of mental wellness issues. And now I'm at the point where I feel confident enough in myself to be able to express my experience with it. And being able to do this is lovely because you are such a lovely, lovely person. I feel very safe.
Well, thank you.
Even though this is going out to the
world. Anybody can hear this.
Yes. Your invitation, I thank you.
Thank you. It's funny because each week I think, you think of people you hear, and it just, you wonder timing wise too. And I know you said that when I reached out, you said there was a few things that kind of just spoke to you. And that's what I love about you, is that you have this like way of explaining a thought process. I'm like, oh my God, this happened just now. And this fits into this. And I'm not maybe explaining it the same way that you would describe, but that's what
your arms did.
Okay, I know.
So it was the outstretched arms, how all the pieces are laying out there, and then they've all been gathered to that one point. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. This is for now. This is what I need to do.
Yeah.
So yes, you were that. It was almost like a magnet.
Right. Well, I am thrilled to have you here, as I said. And I guess it's starting off. You had described to me something called your deepest, darkest Peru. Can we start with that?
Sure. So if you missed it in the intro, I have an allopathic formal diagnosis of major depressive disorder. And it was very cyclical. And when I was experiencing it, I labeled it as my deepest, darkest Peru. And yeah, so with close friends, I would be able to say, this is where I am. Mm-hmm. And then things would alter just a bit, like the demands on me or demands on myself or expectations of communication with people, and they were okay with that because they knew I was there and I would always come out.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate that the piece of suicide is not part of my story.
Okay.
However, I can relate to it a bit, being like, that makes sense.
Right.
And so, so with that, in the deepest, darkest Peru, then I needed to take steps to get out of it, or just sit in it in in that hot, jungly, gross, bleh.
Right. So how does it present for you though? Like, do you find that you can see it coming, or does it just kind of like, bam, it slowly after the fact you realize, oh, those were the
Oh,
signs?
no, it used to, and I say I'm talking in the past
Hmm.
because I'm presently not there.
Yes, which is
And
amazing. Yeah.
um, a term that actually beforehand we talked about, I'm calling it remission. I would say I'm in remission,
Yeah.
and because I can't say it will never happen again.
Hmm.
I would hope not, but I can't. I don't know my future.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I would say that's where that is. And to traveling to the deepest, darkest Peru, it was a series of events. There was always be a series, and that's where I think we're going to talk about resiliency after.
Yes.
Um, I had no reason. I had zero. Not zero. That's not true. I had limited skill of resiliency,
Right.
and then I learned resiliency,
Hmm.
and I now know to ask for help when I need it.
Yep.
Um, so when so imagine a journey, not like a meditative journey, but you
Yep.
want to book a ticket to
Yep.
Peru.
Right.
What do you need to do? You know your destination, you know where you want to go.
Right.
But what do you need to do? Okay, you may need to save the funds to get there. You're going to have to make sure you have luggage. Are you going to take a friend? This is a solo trip, so you're not taking a friend,
Hmm.
and you need to pack, but you don't have a suitcase. Well, not in this trip, but this trip, like, and your suitcase is heavy,
Hmm.
and then you go and like there's all these steps. So I learned through the return trips from Peru. Um, I learned to recognize when, oh my goodness, I'm calling the agent to to book my flight.
Right.
So instead of calling the agent to book my flight, I would call for help.
Right.
And that help was either the friend one time or friends, um, calling the doctor saying, okay, going to a psychiatrist, going to a counselor. Um, Later on, it changed because then I was able to, oh, I'm looking at the telephone to call the travel agent to go to Peru. Okay, what steps can I do next? Centering my body, going out into nature. Um, what was my go-to? Singing
Hmm.
is one of my go-tos. Yeah, so that's I haven't visited there in a while,
Okay.
and the last trip out is when I really understood what I need for resiliency,
Right.
and what's like I've made lists like what is my thing that I need to do for myself to there isn't even a phone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in those moments, so your deepest, darkest Peru is, so I'm understanding it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
is the depression, is the living in that. Am I understanding that?
Yeah.
Or yeah, so that's the actual part of the depression, and then it's how you take the trip,
Yeah. Well, the return trip
the
out.
return trip out. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
just for clarification,
yeah, of
right?
course, of
Yeah.
course. Well, and the thing is because also so if anxiety and depression are almost they're on the same coin. One is future, one is past.
Yes.
La da 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 da. Oh,
Yeah.
la di da da da.
La di da
Da
da.
da da. And then being in the moment is the edge of the coin, and that's the where your body feels the safest and your mind feels the safest.
Hmm.
And um, so with having both, And I did both. So I was for the most part, I was a functioning person with anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then it tipped when I was an unfunctioning person with anxiety and depression.
Right. And you would say, has this happened? Like you said, it was cycles. So you've had a
Yeah.
few experiences with.
Let's see. So I'm 51 now. How many trips? So I can remember the last one. That was pivotal. So that was just before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So not too long ago. We have an animal buddy with us.
Yeah, Claire's decided to be very active today.
And the one before that, which was the big one, was in 2019 when I was in a car accident. And that shook my physical body enough that I couldn't rely on my body to get me through the day where my mind just followed, and the heavy mind. And so when my body was unable to do that for me, I took a long trip to Peru, and that's where I learned so much stuff. That's where I learned resiliency, repairing my body and my mind at the same time, in conjunction. That was the biggest. So what was that? 2019. It's now. That was 2022. So 19, 20, 21, 20. So say right now I'm my most well that I've ever felt.
Right.
Ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what do you attribute this time to? Is it anything spectacular or years of going through it and getting finally to a place where you're healing and recognizing and all those things?
That is that's a really good question. And the reason why I love it is because the first word that popped to mind was acceptance.
Right. You finally.
I accepted
Mm-hmm.
that this is where I am.
I love that too.
And as soon as I did, there seemed to be more gentleness with myself, gentleness with other people. I gave myself more grace instead of trying to do 12,000 things. And I'm not exaggerating. Well, no, that's an exaggeration. But 12,000 things at once.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Let's do one thing.
Right.
And it doesn't even have to be done well. Let's try one thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And what's fun while I'm speaking about this is I've always had periods of joy
Mm-hmm.
and things that I enjoyed. And then there was times where, there was times where I didn't do the things. There was times where I didn't do the things of joy for certain reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then I recognized that, well, adding my things that I like to do was also part of it. So acceptance, adding that one thing that in the past brought me joy. And if it didn't this time, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then I retried it because it's not necessarily always going to be joyful.
Right.
Yeah. And trying new things and seeing where that takes me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because part of it, like the bed, so the binge eating disorder was also part of the depression. So that's within depression and anxiety, there's these intense feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I used food to numb them, to try to bring me to center. It worked for a bit.
Yeah.
But then I gained weight, that borderline diabetes, high cholesterol.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of it.
Right.
And then high cortisol, just being in stress all the time. So logically, I knew all this. I could, but I was, at that time, I wasn't doing what I could be doing to support the physicalness of how to, for that, my foundation to, for those steps to help not be depressed or anxious.
Right. Yeah.
And learning to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Well, before this, we
Yeah.
owned, and it does help, breathing, but you explained your breathing. It's awareness. How did you explain it to me before this? It's just because it's actually, I know, I'm like, I should press play because that was really good.
I don't know what I said.
But just about actually being aware that when you need to reset almost. We were talking about like a bit of a reset and how you can change, like with your bowl. She has her brass singing bowls here, and how that can. How did you explain that when it's?
Well, it may not come out exactly the way it was.
That's okay.
So regulating the nervous system is really important.
Mm-hmm.
When you're anxious, when you are depressed, what your nervous system is dysregulated,
mm-hmm.
and that includes your brain.
Right.
Because your brain is the operating system of your nervous system, and it's a feedback loop.
Right.
So for myself, I needed to find ways to arrest that. Like, how can I arrest that feedback loop? And connecting with the breath. Yeah, connecting with the breath. Okay, 4 words, or
mm-hmm.
just when someone says breathe. I used to get angry when people tell me to breathe. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very simple. Like, yeah, breathing is simple. Like, I'm doing it, I'm alive. But breathing well is, I'm going to say the word medicine. Breathing well is the medicine.
Right.
And there's many ways to breathe.
And breathing well is different than breathing with intention. Breathing with intention.
I would say
would
it's
you
similar.
say about the same?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
There.
No, not at all. It's all part of the same thought. So with breathing, because there's your shallow breaths and your deep breaths, and so in some traditions like pranayama, very much in the yogic tradition, but all humans have a system and a cyclical way of breathing for health and wellness.
Right. And
finding the one that works for you. The first one that was ever taught to me by, I'm giggling because I think within a week I was told by like 5 different people, the box breath.
Okay. How does that work?
Oh my gosh, the box breath. So I'm going to tell you the 5 people. So the psychiatrist told me about the box breath. The counselor told me about the box breath. I had a yoga instructor tell me about the box breath. I'm sure I read it in a book, but that doesn't count right now. I had a friend, someone that was in meditation, and then another friend that was telling me about the box breath. So professionals in all
different areas, yeah.
Box breath.
Mm-hmm.
So the box breath, I like to look at could be called the square breath, because you're drawing
a circle of experts explaining the box.
Yeah. But it's actually really a square.
Okay. Sorry.
Square. It's okay. Unless you do it for 6 sides, but that's another story. Okay. So you start at one point, and you could be breathing or not breathing, but just start with the thought, I'm going to breathe. Like, this is conscious breath. Like, you are directing your breath. So, and right now it's not right or wrong. Right now we're consciously, I'm going to start a breath. So it's going to be an inhale for 4, You're going to hold it for 4, meaning you are not exhaling. Like you're holding it. You might feel tight. You hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you're going to exhale for 4. First few times out through your mouth or out through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. And guess what we get to do next? We're going to hold the exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's cyclical. And if you do this 6 times, maybe that's why it's a, oh, now I know why it's a box. Because if you do, okay. That's funny. Okay. If you do it 6 times, Carrie's just laughing at me over here.
That would have literally I would have thought about this in a year. I'm like, oh, that's why it's a box.
It didn't only take a year. It took me 10.
Why? See, this is why conversations are so important. You would have never known about this until we sat down and talked about it today.
And you probably already use a box breath. It's actually being taught, at least. So I'm from British Columbia. And when my kid was in school, in elementary school, the box breath was taught.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of their mindfulness practice.
Oh, it was. Wow.
Yeah. So very excited about that.
Yeah.
And it helps regulate. So it's in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4.
Mm-hmm.
And once that gets into a rhythm, and if you have time, or please make time, do it for 5. In for 5, hold for 5. And that's going to regulate.
Right.
And if you want extra energy, guess what you need to do? Breathe in for 6.
Mm-hmm. Just continue the...
Hold for 4.
Right.
Breathe out for 6. Hold for 4.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would like, say, for bedtime and you're needing to relax and calm and rest the body and the mind and all of it and sink into your wonderful sheets and your pillow and you're all cozy, then it's going to be breathe in for 4, hold for 6, exhale for 4, hold for 6.
Okay.
So right now in 3 minutes, you've now know a box breath, the 4 equal sides, whatever that count is. 4 is the easiest to start, and then you can increase it. And then if you would like extra energy, say, oh my goodness. So you started with the 4, 4, 4, and you know what? I have a meeting, and I just need a little bit more. In for 6, hold for 4, out for 6, hold for 4.
Right.
That gives you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of running in the spot, you can breathe, and then when it's bedtime or even brushing your teeth or wherever your sleep hygiene routine starts.
Right.
That's another mental wellness.
That was actually, because that's the one question I ask everybody. What's the last best thing you do before you go to bed every night?
Tell myself I love myself.
See, there you go. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, or do I do that before or after I tell myself I will wake up in joy?
You'll wake up in joy.
Mm-hmm. It took me a lot to get there.
Yeah.
Because I actually, don't remember the technique. You know when you're learning a new skill and you know what your end goal is, say if it's basketball and you want to do a 3-pointer, but you can't quite yet. Like you bring it back to steps.
Right.
I can't remember. There's a name for that.
Step by step?
No. Deconstructing it or something.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I don't know.
It'll come to me later.
I don't know.
But that was one of my goals, is to wake up joyfully.
Right.
At one time, that idea, I didn't know how that idea would even be part of it. In deepest, darkest Peru, there was no joy.
Mm-hmm.
There was life, but there was no joy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, you know what? I'm going to wake up okay.
That's amazing that you're at that spot.
Mm-hmm. And talking about, I actually forgot all the steps that I took to get to this point. Like all of the steps I've taken, and all the trials and errors, and all the trials and experience.
Right.
Never errors.
Right. Because everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
I find I have a love-hate with that phrase, but I do really still think it's like, how can you take back what this was without this experience? So,
Exactly. I
yeah.
can't take it back.
Yeah.
And that's the acceptance part.
That's right. Again, back to acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which brings you to resilience.
Oh, resilience. Oh my God. What a great segue. That was very good.
Just call me Oprah. I'm just kidding.
Why?
I don't know. Call me Carrie. Call me Carry On With Carrie.
I love it.
Oh, we're having too much fun. This is good.
So resilience. I learned resilience when I was doing physiotherapy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that you were a physiotherapist.
No, when I was doing, like when I was actually at a physiotherapy.
Like, I did not know this about you.
No, I am not a physiotherapist. And I don't play one on TV.
I love that because I do that all the time.
Because my body was shaken from the car accident. I was T-boned.
Right.
I could not wear a bra for a year. Even sports bras, like the loosey-goosey. I went sizes up just to see. And there was something that was activated in my back that I couldn't have that compression. That's where compression did not feel good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to learn how to navigate my body again.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter couldn't hug me for the longest time because that's how dysregulated my nervous system was.
Right.
And part where this brings to resilience is I wish you could see my hands. So if you can imagine a Play-Doh.
Mm-hmm.
So you grab your can of Play-Doh, you take out the Play-Doh. And if you grab it and you pull it apart, yeah, you can do that. That's pretty easy. It's part of the nature of Play-Doh. But if you want to try to see and stretch it as much as you can, and then put it back, and then try it again to stretch it out more at a further distance and put it back. For me, that's what resiliency felt like at that time, where, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain. But if I don't get past that pain, I can't go any further. So, okay. And I know from the past my body can do stuff, and nothing was broken.
Right.
Like it wasn't a bone break or something where it needed rest. Like this needed, it's almost, what's that stuff you pull? Like toffee.
Toffee. Yeah.
It needed pulling, and it needed compression again, and it needed pulling.
Yes.
But it hurt so much I couldn't do it. So I had to bring it back to where it didn't hurt as much, but could hurt just enough that I wasn't going to re-trigger myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the chronic pain came in, where I was anticipating, and this is where the anxiety came in. Oh my goodness, I'm going to hurt my body again to that grand extent, even though logically I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But my body thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And then the depressive part in that was, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Blaming the other person, even though it was their fault, but like blaming that moment and allowing myself to be still in that blame moment.
Right. I think you just hit the nail on the head right there. It was that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Did that hold on? Like you held on to that moment in your body and your memory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it shattered me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's shattering now. Because I've had to there was no quick fix.
Right.
Yeah.
We were talking about breath, and you were going to play your brass singing bowl.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So part of my joy creation. Sure. I may change the word because this conversation
Mhm.
is new to me. Like having those who know me, like know all the ingredients to Jennifer. Well,
Yeah.
not all of them, but most.
Yeah.
One, but this one, presenting the recipe first and then talking about the ingredients is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually another thing that I used. I'm gonna, before I do the breathing.
Yes, please.
So to relate to food more healthily for myself,
Mm-hmm.
because I am a foodie. Like
Right.
I love food. Like I adore it. Part of it, with the analogy of my mental wellness recipe, is if I want to taste joy, for me, what are my ingredients to taste and experience joy? And my list may not even come close to Carrie's list.
Right.
And that's the great thing about your own recipe. And that's with the trial and error and trying again and again. Like learning how to crochet
Mm-hmm.
is part of my joy.
Right.
Learning singing bowls is part of my joy.
Right. It's the investigation and the curiousness.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Going for a bike ride, presently not part of my joy.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
May I ask you a question?
What's part of my joy right now? Is that what you're going to ask?
Yeah, even one or two or.
Part of my joy right now is, honestly, this podcast. It brings me joy because every week I was explaining this to somebody. The connection for me, I asked my last, Anne-Marie was here last week with us, and I asked her what her definition of magic was. And for me, it's connection. The connection that another human being can have with another, and to realize either in that moment that there is an actual connection there, and it's whether it be powerful or disturbing or whatever it is. But when you have a moment like this, for me, like I get to sit and talk to people they give me their like a couple hours of their time, and I have your complete attention, and my complete attention is on you, and I don't have to worry about anything else. So that makes me happy. That brings me joy. Anyways.
Lovely.
And my dog, Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, your smile just.
Yeah. She's my.
Your cheeks pushed up your glasses.
Yeah, they do with her. She's my baby. And, my kids too, like my grandkids, my kids, and just family. Family and friends people are important, but I love my alone time too. That also brings me a lot of joy. So, yeah, a few things. Yay. Anyways, singing bowls.
Singing bowls. So I play brass bowls and I play crystal bowls, and I brought the brass bowls because they're way more portable. And we're going to do this with breathing.
Yes, and how many bowls are there in this set?
Oh, presently I have 7 bowls in this set, 1 for each chakra.
Okay, and that's what they're for. Okay.
Yes. So I picked out the biggest bowl, which happens to be the root chakra, which is a C. And when I was playing them, I realized I need the right tool. The small tool doesn't work as well. So you got to get the right tool.
You mentioned something about pressure.
I did. So the reason why you can't hear anything is because I'm purposely not putting pressure on it. As soon as I put pressure on it, it starts. And then I also have to have a certain angle with it. I have to have precision. So the right angle, the right pressure. And then I get into speed. Now, you may need to turn down your volume right now because it's going to get loud. But there can actually be where there's... Do you hear them?
Oh, yeah.
I don't has been a great analogy of how I navigate some situations in life.
Right.
And even connections with people. Like how much pressure like do I need to make this sing together?
Right.
Which is work. Like, and even when you're doing your own projects, like I need to put effort. Like that's effort.
Yes. But how much?
And how much? And how much are you willing to try to get it into that sweet spot?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what navigates that is the navigation of it bringing me joy. And then, not to delude myself, the not giving up, like that's there, that balance of not giving it, the surrendering to, okay, this is not your jam, Jen. Like, let it go.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, okay, am I willing to put in the time and the steps and the practicing and the consistency? So where I'm being led to right now is talking about the breathing for your nervous system regulation and doing that consciously until you think, oh my gosh, why am I telling myself how to breathe? I should be doing this naturally. And then for at least for myself, it got to a point is like, thank you for teaching me. Like I thanked myself for teaching myself how to breathe well.
Right.
And then now I only have to give myself reminders when I'm noticing, okay, say in traffic. I'm usually really good in traffic, but if I'm noticing a car that keeps on weaving, I feel a sensation.
Yeah.
Okay, breathe. Simple prompt. And then it relaxes me in driving my car.
But now it's become that prompt that you go back to, whereas when you started that, it was a learned behavior.
Yes.
Right.
Very much so. Yeah.
And I think that's part of all of this conversation, is knowing that everyone has to start somewhere in the healing, in your healing process, and learning how to breathe might be the beginning for some people.
Yeah.
But you didn't have that at first.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Not for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. Or not in the way that you realized you needed to breathe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I used to do supportive care and helping
you're saying, yeah.
helping people with varying needs, I would help them regulate their breath, and I didn't know that I was doing it. Like I wasn't consciously doing it.
Yeah.
But I was doing it, but doing that for myself. The whole being worthy part.
Yep.
Being worthy of breath. Like, how am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Of course.
Being worthy of breath. Like, how fucked is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because okay, so your anxiety plays out in breath, for me at least.
Yeah.
And for me, I used to smoke years and years ago. And I used to, I love that feeling, and you take that moment but it was the moment more so than, I don't like smoking. No offense to anybody out there that still does. It's just not my thing. And I'm glad I don't do it anymore. But I often said, I feel like I was less anxious then because I took the time a few times a day to go outside and take a moment.
Yes.
Whereas I stopped doing that. So in itself, like, it sounds kind of silly to think of it this way, but like to have have that kind of breath,
Why would that be silly? That's exactly what
yeah.
That's what you could be doing.
The analogy isn't very good though, because smoking is so bad for you, but yes, you know what I'm saying? That's how it worked for me, at the time. So yeah, the anxiety that comes with, that you're holding everything and everything's tight. So yes, that flow and that breath.
And then for those who even struggle to even like, how do I get to my breath? Um, left hand on your heart. That's my right hand on my belly button. Okay,
I
only have
followed
two.
you.
Left hand. Having these two connected. So you're literally, your nervous system is being connected to your body because your hands have so much neural pathways to them.
Right.
Because you touch things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're meant to. They're meant to. So put that touch on yourself.
Right.
And it can start off with just, okay, let's breathe in your nose, into your nose, and feel it go down your esophagus. Feeling the expansion of your chest, like the rib cage. I know for myself, I remember when somebody was trying to teach me how to breathe, and it's like chest out.
Yeah. No, you were a singer, aren't you?
I've taken singing lessons. I do sing.
You do sing.
I do sing. I'm owning that. Yeah. But I don't record music. I don't create songs. It's more, I sound and I tone and
You're musical.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And you sing. And I know she does because I hear her many times. And it's the way, like the breath with singing is very important.
Very much so.
It's all about your diaphragm. And I mean, I used to sing in choirs and stuff. And I used to sing a lot more than I do now. And we were having this conversation. Do I still sing? It comes and it goes for me, right? I don't do the public singing like I used to, but I just enjoy a good song comes on and I sing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's part of the breathing.
Absolutely.
Right. And the vibration I do want to get back to that because the vibration of the bowls and how that pertains to giving you, resetting you.
Oh, yes. Did you want to try too?
Sure.
Okay, we got to get you the right tool.
If you ever take one of Jennifer's, I guess, would you call it a class, a workshop? They're
more workshops, but I also like just bring the bowls to play if need be.
She shows it. She shows you how to.
Yeah.
And so you're experiencing it. It's not just watching somebody do it. Because for me, I'm a doer. I learn by doing. Yeah.
Get me right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Is this C?
You can have the C. Do you feel rooty or do you feel sacrally or?
Is this the root?
I have the root.
This is the sacral?
Yes. Okay. That is.
We're talking chakras here.
Correct. So, foundation. You want your palm flat, and you're going to sit the bowl right in
the palm of your hand.
Your thumb is going to be tucked near your finger, like your index finger, but you're not holding it.
Right.
Because it needs to vibrate.
Right. Okay.
And why we're bringing this into the mental wellness part is...
Yes, I was going to ask you that. Okay.
Oh, it helps resonance, resetting. The sound is just beautiful. The activity gets you into the present moment because like before, there's those elements of pressure, angle, and speed.
Right.
And then when you include the breath with your pressure, angle, and speed, and then if you feel inclined to voice the sound that you're hearing, there's this full connection. And it helps reset the nervous system.
Okay.
Regulation.
Just that easy.
That easy.
Right.
So your fingers have pooped up. You want them flat.
Oh, I did. They did, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So there's the edge. And we're just starting it. Oh, you're a natural. And her speed is going to be different than my speed because we have different size bowls. Her pressure is going to be different than mine.
Right.
Because we have different size bowls. To play them well, you need to add certain elements to them.
Was that me or you?
Well, we're together.
Oh, so they're both happening?
Yeah.
It sounds like just the one.
Nice. And what's fun is you can actually change direction. And when you change direction, if you notice, there was a pause in the sound. And it's great to pause, to change direction.
Right. Yes.
Do you see the analogy?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
And then have you added the breath?
No, of course I stopped breathing. Because
So
I
you
was
held your
concentrating.
breath.
I did.
Okay, so you're creating sound, so creating something now. Imagine breathing and creating,
Mm-hmm.
or creating and breathing.
Can I create and breathe at the same time?
Absolutely.
Can I chew gum?
You want to? You do you. And exaggerating the breath. Oh, especially like if you drive to work.
I don't know if I was making any noise.
Oh, here, how about you do it by yourself? Change your angle. And pressure. Some things need pressure to make them work. There you go. There you go.
Oh, it's the angle.
Yeah. So how you approach something. They're all analogies.
Oh, you can feel the vibration.
Mm-hmm.
That made me happy. I think I was breathing that time too.
Yay!
I just, because that's why I was like, I don't know if I'm actually, because I could hear yours,
Okay.
but I couldn't feel the vibration
Oh, okay.
on mine. And I think that happened to me at the, you had the outdoor one that we did.
Yeah.
And that was amazing because you're outside, you're looking up at the sky and these bowls are playing and it's just beautiful. So what got you started on that path other than your musical? Like,
oh, I worked at a metaphysical shop.
okay.
And she had bowls.
Right. Yes.
And
okay.
for the longest time, I couldn't play them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to play them.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to experience the nuance of creating the sound. Mm-hmm. And then I'm big into analogies. I'm big into imagination. And then it poofed open this, oh, how do I show up?
Right.
And the way that I was taught was also like being grounded in your feet. Like start off with breathing and centering all your limbs, like just being present. And then it just sang. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, I need to do this all the time.
Yeah. I could see how you would want to. Mm-hmm. I played the bells.
Oh, yeah.
When I was in choir, and yes, I was when I used to go to church when I was younger, we played the choir bells, mm-hmm. or the handbells. And it reminds me similar, like especially with the brass, mm-hmm. that same, just that feeling you get with, and playing any instrument or music to me brings me joy as well. I do love music. Mm-hmm. It has so much power and
the science behind doing music.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
For the brain, it activates a different part of your brain. Mm-hmm. Say with people with Alzheimer's and dementia, if they were musically inclined and you bring music to them, they will remember that
Okay.
because it's accessing a different part of your brain.
Right.
So with depression, anxiety, pick a mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
activating positive brain, like activating the brain waves,
Right.
and you can like reprogram your brain.
Yeah. So I have to ask
Support reprogramming your brain.
support.
I
Yes.
needed to rephrase that.
Okay. No, that's good. And I actually, by you saying that, I just want to ask one last question. We should probably cut it
Wow.
down a little bit here soon. But um, you had mentioned to me, and I think you're comfortable with this, about medication.
Mhm.
I know for me, I've been very open about that I do take antidepressants and whatever I need to take. I believe in that side of it as well as all of the other things that you can kind of add to the wellness. And I just wondered what your experience has been with on that side of things.
Oh gosh. So yes, I have taken multiple types of medication, and I called it crisis management.
Okay.
It helped me
Mm-hmm.
through crisis,
Mm-hmm.
and it got me to a place where I was able to just my body chemistry. I'm not someone that could wean off of them. It was like it was a cold turkey thing for
Right.
some of them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of trial and error. At the time, my hormones weren't regulated well either. So
Right.
you add, my body chemistry was not coherent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I needed support
Yes.
until I needed support.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's some people that will always need support.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that don't. And that's a decision between you yourself and your practitioners,
Mm-hmm.
whoever they may be.
Yep. And that's something I always like to add to all my episodes is I am not a mental health expert. And
neither am I.
right. But we have our own experiences, and that's my expertise is what of my life experience in all of this. And yours has been amazing to hear, and just how honest and candid you've been about everything. And it was a fun interview too. Like, it was fun to sit and talk.
It was.
Yeah.
And then when the microphone was off, so much good stuff came out.
So much. I'm like, damn, why wasn't I recording?
But we talked about advocacy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that was a big one.
It was. And we were talking about when we see people on the streets of whatever city you're in, people on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's generally related to mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I could almost guarantee 100% of it
Yeah.
is because of mental wellness or the lack of mental wellness.
Yeah.
The non-accessibility to professionals who, perhaps not everyone who is an advocate needs to be a professional. And that's where the connection comes in.
100%.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was.
Yeah.
That's why I started this, because I'm not an expert, but you know what? I kind of got it down pat by now. So it's from my experiences, and to make it relatable between another human being, that it's okay. Your story matters. Like when they always say your story counts,
Mm-hmm.
it really does.
Mm-hmm.
And you explained the ripple effect that it can have.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, can I share about how you were telling me how to get onto Spotify and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Spotify illiterate. Not anymore though.
Right.
So she was telling me, well, can you, if you want to, or if you choose to, can you share, even if it's to yourself or to your dog or,
Yeah.
And I'm going, yeah, I'm going to share. And she said, well, it helps with the algorithms. And that's the digital world. And in the analog world, from people to people. And I was saying, had this image of Carrie's this hub, and so far I'm the 12th person.
Mm-hmm.
And of all those spokes of the hub of Carrie,
Yeah,
interacts with people even just a little bit differently, or they're the same with a little more enthusiasm, or even just they're same the way they were because that's how they are.
Mm-hmm.
It ripples out, and that ripples out. So you may not see it on the digital algorithm, but it's rippling out in the physical world.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you. And the whole thing about, yeah, we're not experts with a diploma on our walls, but we have our own lived experiences.
Yeah.
If I were a basketball player, I would be really good in a, why basketball of all things?
Well, you are in the house of tall children.
Okay.
You just knew this was part of my house. Basketball.
I'm really good at just what is it, like a house league.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to be an NBA player.
Right.
But I can be a damn good house league player.
Yeah.
Or even if I suck
Mm-hmm.
at house league playing. But just,
yeah.
It's like, as long as, yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very, very much for this. And I know we'll do this again and we'll talk about much to talk about.
Yeah.
But I really do appreciate your vulnerability and trusting me to be here to, just to talk so candidly with me and I share your goals and
yeah. And I appreciate your first question, like when we were off mic about, okay, double checking. So what are we able to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that. Love it.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. I would never want anybody, your story is your story and you're comfortable. You don't want to put somebody in a negative place of, well, did I say too much? Did I reveal, because it can do the opposite, especially if you have ever had problems with any overthinking or such things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just glad that you trusted me. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Woo,
Okay.
I think we thanked each other for like 6 minutes
Can
here.
we thank We're so Canadian.
Very much so.
Okay, so where can people find you if do you have any links or anything that you want to share? Or
sure, yeah. So I have collaborated with a gentleman named Troy Mitchell. He is a clinical hypnotherapist as well as an entertainment hypnotherapist.
I'd love to talk to him sometime.
So him and I have collaborated, and we had our first event on Tuesday, actually. Yes. And so he did an induction into this beautiful journey within oneself, and then I got to play the sound bowls, and then we had conversation after, which is called satsang. And yeah, witnessing yourself safely and deeply. Mm-hmm. It was lovely. And we have 3 more coming up. We have one August 15th, September 5th, and September 26th. It's every 3 weeks.
Okay.
The cost is, maybe friends with Carrie. Carrie's friends can do, let's do $15. Friends of Carrie can do 15 instead of 25.
Okay.
It's at Clarity, which is downtown in Edmonton.
Okay.
I can't even remember. I know how to get
there.
I
can, if you give me the link,
sure,
I can attach it to this episode too, and people can kind of find on social media. I'm on Carry On With Carrie podcast.
Yep.
On Facebook and Carry Under.
You want to sing?
Yeah. Carry On With Carrie _ podcast on Instagram. So, nice. And do you have somewhere where we can follow you on social media to find out more?
Presently just my Facebook account, Jennifer Cline, Cline, Troy Mitchell, Mitchell. I'm just trying to think if he has Instagram. I don't think he does. But Kumara from Clarity has been posting for us, so that has been really nice.
Perfect. So we can look at Clarity,
and it's called Together in Presence.
Okay, perfect. That's amazing.
It is
just as we were tonight.
Absolutely.
Very present.
Very together.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Okay, until next time.
Absolutely.
Next week, I'm not sure if I'll be back for an episode next week. I may just be doing one on my own. I'm actually taking a little bit of a few days off next week with the family, and but you never know. I might wind up recording one. Maybe I'll get my family on there. You never know while we're on holidays. Hint, hint. Okay. Love you. Bye.
Bye.